For the extreme version of the Voidcast Dais, we assign standard clock positions in light parties. Terrastorm will summon forth 2 meteors from Golbez that grow while traveling outwards towards opposite corners of the arena. The other 2 corners will be the safe spots for the massive circle AoEs that will eventually resolve. Before Terrastorm resolves, Golbez begins casting Lingering Spark, snapshotting the position of every player at the end of its cast bar, and placing a delayed circle AoE beneath them. After Terrastorm resolves, stay stacked until the end of this cast bar before adjusting away to dodge the circle baits. Phases of the blade is a randomly targeted 180 degree cleave in front of Golbez, followed by a second 180 degree cleave behind Golbez 3 seconds later. Position behind the boss during the cast bar and run through to his front after the cast finishes. Binding Cold is a raidwide AoE that applies a 10-second frostbite damage over time. After casting Gale Sphere, 4 clones will emerge from Golbez before traveling out to the edge of the arena in a particular order. These clones are telegraphs for the order the next mechanic will resolve in. The first 2 clones will travel to north or south, while the final 2 clones will travel to east or west, always opposite to one another. After all clones have left Golbez, green spheres will appear along each edge of the arena. These spheres will shoot column AoEs, rendering most of the arena unsafe, save for a single column. Remember the order the clones appeared in and position accordingly to dodge the column AoEs. During the resolve of the second set of orbs, Golbez casts Arctic Assault, cleaving 2 opposite quadrants of the arena. While moving into the second safe spot, be sure to be on the side of the ice that doesn't have spikes. Dodge the remaining 2 sets of spheres before preparing to move behind Golbez to dodge another phases of the blade. Golbez will cast another Binding Cold Raidwide, followed by his first Void Meteor. Void Meteor is a pair of 5-hit Tankbusters on the 2 highest in enmity players, with most of its damage served on the final hit. Azdaja's Shadow is a cast that will become significant later, but this first cast is purely theatrical, signifying that Golbez will now imbue his attacks with Azdaja's power. This is immediately followed by Black Fang, Golbez's ultimate, hitting the raid with 6 instances of damage in fairly quick succession. The next cast of Azdaja's Shadow is very important. During the cast, Golbez will either glow with a massive purple circle, telegraphing the in and spread variant of a future mechanic, or a small purple circle, telegraphing the out and light parties variant of a future mechanic. I use a simple party chat macro so that no one has any chance to forget which variant we will deal with later. Golbez will now execute Flames of Eventide, an uncasted 3-hit Tankbuster that cleaves in a column AoE. This buster issues stacks of Flames of Eventide. An individual tank reaching 3 stacks will not survive, and this buster pierces invulnerability. Whether the tanks prefer to swap between every hit, or one tank takes 2 hits before the off-tank provokes is entirely a matter of preference, but some manner of swap should be executed before either tank reaches 3 stacks. Following Flames of Eventide, Golbez will cast Phases of the Shadow. We dodge this from back to front exactly as before, but following the cleave dodges, we will resolve the mechanics telegraphed during Azdaja's Shadow. For the in and spread variant, we dodge the first cleave, run through to dodge the second cleave, position inside Golbez's hitbox to dodge the donut AoE, and then spread out to our true north waymarks to resolve the spread. For the out and stack variant, we dodge the first cleave, run through to dodge the second cleave, continue running out of max melee to dodge the point blank circle AoE, and then melees take a step back in to continue DPSing while sharing the massive stacks. Which healer stack goes where is a matter of preference. One approach is to have Light Party 1 dodge towards the north and west sides of the safe spot, while Light Party 2 takes the south and east sides of the safe spot. The boss relative approach is, while dodging into the first cleave, for Light Party 1 to dodge left facing Golbez, while Light Party 2 dodges right. There is no real advantage to one over the other, so just make sure the entire party is on the same page, and try to be flexible in understanding. Golbez will next teleport mid-north and cast Double Meteor. This mechanic looks like a lot is going on, but is quite easy to resolve. One 3-player tower will spawn in a north corner. On the opposite south corner, a 2-player tower will spawn. One support and one DPS will be targeted with a proximity AoE, and one healer will be targeted with a radial knockback emanating from their position. This knockback healer will stand center. Be advised that it pierces knockback immunity. The no mechanic DPS positioned to knock into the north tower, while the no mechanic support's positioned to knock into the south tower. Finally, the proximity DPS will knock to the empty north corner, while the proximity support knocks to the empty south corner. In other words, DPS north, support south. After the knockback, players have a second to adjust as needed before the towers and proximity AoEs resolve. The knockback healer will have had Azdaja fall onto their heads to cause the knockback, and Azdaja will now be tethering to them. After a few seconds, this player will be shot with a wide column AoE, so they should take a few steps south to bait this away from all the other players. Following this column AoE, the mechanic is resolved. Golbez once again casts Azdaja's Shadow, imbuing his blade with whatever variant we didn't see last time. Note which mechanics you will be dealing with later. This is followed by another round of 3 Flames of Eventide Tankbusters. Void Stardust is an Exaflare-like mechanic. 2 opposite corners will have a circle AoE telegraph inside of them. We send Light Party 1 to the north corner, and Light Party 2 to the south corner. After a delay, more circle AoEs will telegraph either vertically or horizontally. Position next to the corner telegraph that isn't immediately covered in bad, and dodge into the first telegraph after it resolves, to avoid getting clipped and picking up a magic vulnerability. All DPS or all supports will be targeted with Abyssal Quasar, a pair stack mechanic that requires 2 players share it to safely resolve. After dodging into the first circle AoE, melees and tanks can chase the AoEs to find a safe path back to uptime and away from the ranged and healers, naturally splitting up into pairs of 2 to share the Abyssal Quasars. Golbez follows this cast with either Eventide Fall, targeting the healers with light party stacks, or Eventide Triad, targeting 1 player of each role with a cleave. For Fall, we just stay grouped up as we are. For Triad, we have the tanks position north, the DPS position south, and the healers east or west, depending on what is more convenient for them. Golbez will cast another Binding Cold Raidwide, followed by another Void Meteor Tankbuster. He will then cast Phases of the Shadow and resolve the Azdaja mechanic stored earlier in the fight. Golbez will cast another Terrastorm, repeating the first mechanic of the fight. This will be layered with Arctic Assault, leaving only 1 safe corner, and both healers will be targeted with healer stacks. How exactly you handle this will depend on your composition, but the general rule is to have Light Party 1 close and Light Party 2 far, with the ranged DPS in Party 1 and the melee DPS in Party 2 swapping positions for uptime. The DPS check is incredibly forgiving, so I would suggest worrying about what makes execution easiest for your group before worrying about damage and uptime, with proper mitigation of 5-3 split is viable here. Following Terrastorm, Golbez throws out another Blinding Cold Raidwide before moving into the most challenging mechanic in the encounter. Golbez once again casts Gale Sphere, and exactly like before, 4 clones will spawn from him, indicating the order the spheres will resolve. As the first set of orbs resolve, either all 4 players of 1 role will be targeted with Abyssal Quasar pair stacks, or both healers will be targeted with Void Blizzard 3 light party stacks. We handle these more or less exactly as before. For pairs, we have Healer 1 paired with Ranged 1 outside towards north or west, Tank 1 paired with Melee 1 inside towards north or west, and so on. For light parties, we have Light Party 1 on the north or west side of the safe spot, and Light Party 2 on the south or east side, positioned accordingly to resolve the first spheres and first mechanic. Positioned to dodge the second spheres as well as Arctic Assault, positioned to dodge the third set of spheres, and during the fourth set of spheres, positioned to dodge and resolve whichever variant of pairs or stacks you didn't resolve at the start of the mechanic, because that will resolve with the fourth set of spheres. This is immediately followed by an unimbued Phases of the Blade, so immediately move behind Golbez before running through after the cast. We will see yet another Binding Cold Raidwide, followed by a random Azdaja's Shadow Imbue, followed by another trio of Flames of Eventide Tankbusters. Golbez will again cast Void Stardust. This is very similar to last time, but with a slight twist. On this second cast, the starting telegraphs will appear next to the corners of the arena, but not on the corners themselves. We resolve this just as before, only this time we start in the corner of the arena and dodge into the first telegraph from there. We will once again have to resolve Void Quasar pairs, so the range stay in place, while the melees chase the AoEs to separate and restore uptime. While the Quasars resolve, Golbez casts another Lingering Spark, so remain in place until the end of the cast bar and then adjust away from your bait positions to dodge the AoEs. Golbez will next cast Eventide Fall or Eventide Triad, so split into light parties or role groups as needed to resolve. From here, Golbez will do nothing new. He will cast the Phases of the Shadow he imbued earlier in the encounter, repeat the double Meteor mechanic, cast another Void Meteor Tankbuster, repeat the enhanced Gale Spheres mechanic, cast another Phases of the Blade, another Flames of Eventide Tankbuster, cast a final Phases of the Shadow, one final Void Meteor Tankbuster, and finally imbue with Azdaja's Shadow before enraging with a 10-second cast of Black Fang at the 11-minute mark.